Welcome to the second episode of the Free and Accepted podcast. I'm Mark Jepson. I'm the interviewer of today's podcast, and I have with me
Rob Nixon.
Rob, thank you for joining me today. You are
asking me.
a Master Mason.
I am.
And your lodge?
Is Carly's Lodge in Felixstowe.
So thank you very much for joining me. We've had a really fascinating conversation before we even started.
Yes, maybe we should have saved some for the podcast. It would have been a bit better.
But tell me how you actually listened to some podcasts before you became a member.
I did, yes. I'm a bit of a podcast nerd, and I do a lot of driving, and I'm always trying to find a good podcast to listen to. And previously to becoming a Freemason, just as I was asked if it's something I'd like to do, I thought, well, there's going to be a podcast about this somewhere. And I found one of a couple of young lads who had started a podcast about Freemasonry. And it was kind of about the initiation process, but without giving anything away. And it was the last thing they described Freemasonry as is an organisation which is the local Amdrak club meets the Boy Scouts. And I thought to myself, sounds a bit of fun, that. I quite like that. I quite like that idea.
Because you were saying you grew up with Jim Carrey and Robin Williams,
Yeah.
and who were characters, and you would...
Absolutely. So, classic child of the 90s with your Jim Carrey films, Robin Williams films, and action heroes. And I remember reading things about Jim Carrey where he would just stand in front of the mirror for hours and do funny voices and silly faces, and the same with Robin Williams. And these guys were fantastic. I loved that they had so much range, that they didn't just do silly, but they could do really serious ones or thrillers as well. And this sort of translated into high school with me, and I did a lot of acting, and we did some theatre productions with the school I went to. And I'd sort of, we'll get into what other hobbies I have, but it's sort of, I had this sort of bit missing in my life where I wanted to get over to and just do something slightly different, which involved...
almost escapism.
Yes, yeah, you can say that, exactly that, yes.
Because you had been to ladies' nights.
I have, yes.
And
many.
Yeah.
Maybe too many before I realised why I was being invited to ladies' nights in the first place.
But you, I'd say bizarrely, you never considered actually saying to somebody, I'm coming to ladies' nights, can I join?
No, I did not. Never once. I thought I was just being invited to a nice do where I got to dress up a little bit.
Why did you not think at that point that you might not be suitable for Masonry? Because I think you questioned as to who you were, didn't you?
A little bit, yes. I don't... Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't really know why I didn't think I was sort of being asked without officially being asked. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, our friend Ian Anderson, who asked me to become a Mason, he sort of not sat me down, but said to me one day, do you know, this is something I think you might quite enjoy doing. Would you like to do it? And ladies' night happened to be a week away, or after ladies' night. And then I sort of went into it thinking, I should probably get to know these people better. I'm going to go and actually start introducing myself and speak. And I think I spoke to Jamie, who is a DC at Colney's, for a good couple of hours. Didn't hear a word he said. The music was very loud, but I agreed and nodded quite a lot. And
good ladies' night.
This is good ladies' night, yes. And then here we are.
But because you had this perception of Masonry, which you now say, well, it was totally wrong.
Absolutely.
But at the time, what was your perception of Masonry?
I think, going back to talking about films and actors and things, I think you only see Freemasonry in film, unless you're really searching for it. You only see it in films, and it's always very hoity-toity and for the elite. I don't necessarily mean the elite, but it's meant for people who are of a higher caliber or standard. So well,
potentially a higher class.
higher class, thank you. Yes, a higher class system,
Yeah.
and not for people who are just everyday workers.
Which, funnily enough, are probably the majority. Once you get into the
Absolutely,
majority,
absolutely, and maybe at the bigger grand lodges in London or more bigger cities. But when you get to the root of Freemasonry in towns and smaller cities, you see who Freemasons really are, and they are the everyday man who has a family, has a job, and has Freemasonry and other hobbies, and they just want to meet to talk and have a bit of an act, if you will, in the lodge, and then go and have a delicious meal and a few glasses of wine. And that's what it is.
And this perception that it's something that needs probably for Suffolk Freemasons and others to address is that it isn't for the elite.
No,
it isn't for those with a lot of money. And we would all say, well, it's not that. But we have to be alive to that perception. Is that's what it may be to somebody looking in, which is
absolutely, yeah. And that's the trap I fell for. And now I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's fun. I've met some really interesting people, and I've got stuck in with the lodge and doing bits, and we do a lot for, well, as you know, Freemasonry is all about charity, and I really like that aspect of being able to do lots for charity, whether it's going on long walks or picnics or race nights or charity balls, or this weekend we have a good few brethren jumping out of an aeroplane. You had Julian last week, he's going to be jumping out of an aeroplane.
He's going to be jumping out, yes.
Was it last weekend?
No, it's on the 27th.
27th, that's it.
So if we go back then to your journey through your road to a Master Mason, you actually joined during lockdown or just after lockdown. So
just at the
process was during lockdown.
The whole process was during lockdown, and mainly through phone calls. Lots of phone calls and text messages. And I was originally meant to be initiated. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. I lost the word. Initiated in 2021. But unfortunately, we were all still in a bit of a lockdown state, and our lodge has a few older brethren, and you're in an enclosed room, and I understand that it just wasn't possible. There was no way of having airflow and things through there. So it was actually put back to 22, and it was meant to be initiated in January, and then I got COVID. So I couldn't do it. I survived the whole pandemic and everything and hadn't caught it, and then I caught it, so I couldn't do it. So eventually it was April 2022.
And then you were passed in April 23, so you worked and then raised to a Master Mason in November 23.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that has been really noticeable about you is your willingness to come to lodge of instruction, to get involved. My rationale to people is the more you do in Masonry, and it's a hobby, family, work come first, but the more you do, you'll feel more involved in a lodge, and the more you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you seem to embrace that whole ethos.
Absolutely. Freemasonry is like anything in life. The more you put into it, the more you will get back. And there are people who are worried that, or younger brethren with young families who are worried that you'll be missing a bit more because, we have a meeting once a month, and then we have some rehearsals if you want to do the rehearsals, and we have some instruction if you want to. But realistically, you're gone for an hour and a half on a Tuesday night. For us, it's Tuesday night.
We'll come to that.
Yeah,
we'll come to lodge of instruction in a minute, because it's something we've obviously talked about, and what is the answer we don't have, but we'll come to that. Did you enjoy the 3 independent or ceremonies that you've been through? Your initiation, your passing, and the raising. It's more about just your feel of each one without going into too much.
Yes.
So I'm going to be talking to initiates and brilliant and fellow cried.
Yes, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. All 3 of them, particularly the first and the last one. I think they are the most terrifying. Is definitely the right word for the first one, because you were going into the unknown. You have absolutely no idea what you were going into, and then all of a sudden it's over, and you still don't know what you've done because it happened in such a blur that you are left for days.
But one of the really nice things is you've joined something.
Absolutely. You absolutely do.
And 99.9% of people who have done their initiation come back for the next meeting.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
But you do feel as if you've joined something.
You really do. And just so without giving anything away, at the end of the ceremony, when everything's called off and you're done, every single person in that lodge room comes up to you and shakes your hand and says, welcome or congratulations. And I found that really overwhelming.
Yeah.
But over the days afterwards, all I could think was how wonderful that was, that everybody had welcomed me and I was now part of this bigger group. And yeah, it was really lovely.
And I think that often is said at somebody's initiation at the meal that the people who you don't know have spent a long time learning ritual for somebody they don't know.
Absolutely. And having now been part of that process, you really, really are doing a lot of work to make somebody's night really special.
Yeah.
And I think that when that work's put in, going back to previously about putting work in and putting effort into it, that person will be really thankful of it. And I know that I was. I still know everything about my initiation. And then when I was part of an initiation process, I really tried to put my complete all into that to make that person feel special for it.
And just gently moving on the conversation, you've always been one for lodge of instruction and for getting involved.
Yes.
What attracted you to that lodge of instruction, lodge of rehearsal? Is it because and we're going to come on to, because people might be looking at the front of the YouTube page and see essentially a photograph of you with a large stone on your shoulder.
With a stone, yes. With Delwynny lifting stone.
Exactly. But your strongman ethos is also matched to your Masonic ethos.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And like I said earlier about what you put into things, I think strongman, which I've been very lucky in, and Freemasonry, which I'm still new, but still think I'm being very lucky in. It's all about what you put into it. And what I really like about the Lodge of Instructions is learning the history of Freemasonry, because it's something that's been around a very, very long time. And it's not just meeting up with your friends, doing a ceremony and then going for a meal. There's thousands of years of history in that.
300 years.
300 years.
That's the story of that.
Yes. But 300 years of traditional Freemasonry, the history of it. And it's just incredible to learn all those little bits from it. And as you progress through the ranks of Freemasonry, you learn more from it and you can take more in. I really enjoy that bit about it.
And have you joined the Royal Arch yet?
I haven't.
You haven't?
I am. Every time I speak to a member of our lodge, I get asked this question, but it is on my to-do list.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things to do first, which hopefully will play out over the next 2 terms, and then that is the goal.
But you've got young children as well. They're a lot of young children. You work hard, so it's about balance, and even the Fijian will say it's about balance and saying whether it's right for you.
I think that is the biggest thing it's saying about balance, is that we were very lucky and had the not the PGM, the second in command of the PGM, Deputy Provincial Grandmaster, and
Roger Nash, who is a very pleasant. They all are.
He's really lovely. I sat with him on a train a couple of weeks or so ago, and it's somebody said, I was part of that ceremony. I like to think I did a nice job, a good job, or as you would say, all right.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me afterwards, you'll have a really good career in Freemasonry. And then as soon as he moved away, someone else said, remember, it's a hobby, not a career.
Absolutely.
Remember, it's just for fun.
Yeah, but I'd fully endorse that. I know what the person probably meant. But
yes, absolutely.
Because one of the things we had touched on was that the Lodge of Instruction, we know from the province that some lodges embrace lodge of instruction, lodge of rehearsal. Others don't. Others struggle to get people. And even our own lodge, we've got a lot of members, but very few actually attend lodge of instruction. And we were discussing this. From your perspective, how do we think we can attract people to
And well, I think I will go with my first answer, which is cake. Always cake. Bring cake.
We like cake.
We like cake.
Or beer. Or beer.
Or beer, cake or beer. How do we had a big long discussion about this before the podcast about how we could do this, and I still don't really know.
No.
I think a way of when a potential initiate is spoken to and interviewed, I think things like this should be brought up about potentially their willingness to learn the history and be told that, you know, this is something you can do and it's really interesting.
But the other thing that you've said, which I thought was really interesting as well, is that actually sometimes people join for friendship.
Yes.
And whereas people like myself and a lot of others are interested in the history, others perhaps don't have that interest as much.
Absolutely. They will join because they've got a couple of friends already in the lodge, and maybe they just don't realise that it's, like we said, there is all this history to it, and they think that you just turn up, do a little meeting, and then go have some food, and that's kind of all right. That's what it's about. Still, it's about meeting up and seeing your friends and new friends and old friends, and then having a meal and chatting some more. But I think that to really get something out of it, or to get more out of it, you can sit and have a look and listen to these.
Yeah. But I suppose the thing we said, that if your perception may be that I'm almost going to a lunch meeting every week.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Whereas if they thought I'm going to meet up with mates, so it's a rhetorical question, I suppose. Does the lodge of instruction have to be at lodge? Do you have to open? Do you have to close? We're not saying it's the answer, but no, these are the things that...
But something a little less formal, maybe. Again, cake. Having it in just a smaller room where you don't have to open and close, and just having it a bit more light-hearted might help. But again, I think it crucially just comes down to time for participants coming along.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think that is I have to think off my back on what I was going to say earlier on.
Yes, but it is. I think it's almost that, if it's that formal. And years ago, we do, and I think we both. I don't respect the traditions of Masonry, but years ago, that's what you were expected to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where society's changed, and possibly a little bit quicker than some of us would like.
Yeah.
But those traditions and those respect for traditions probably aren't there like they used to be.
No, exactly. Well, I think also saying about times changing, when a gentleman could just leave the house and leave the wife to deal with the kids and things.
Yes.
Times have changed, and now not only is it expected, but we want to spend time with our children, spend time with our wives, and watching Great British Bake Off. This is always a rush time to get to that. But yeah, I think with those times changing, but it's not a big thing. It's just an hour and a half, and most of a lot of rehearsal or instruction is normally just after bedtime for the kids.
Yeah.
So you can do the bedtime and then nip out this hour and a half and not really miss growing up time, as it were, with kids.
But you've really embraced it. You enjoy the ritual.
I do.
And as a master basin, you're already you are now on the floor. But
not quite.
You're not. But the thing is, that's where I got confused, because of your enthusiasm, you're often doing one of the positions.
I know there is a nickname which I don't often like, but Super Soul has been batted about a few times. But DC Jamie often will call me out of the blue with a couple of weeks' notice. I said, Rob, you couldn't just do such and such, could you? Or learn this, or just say this. And normally, I'm pretty bad at saying no, so I will always say yes. But I like that. I really enjoy that part of it. And again, going back to the strongman, and
we're coming into that.
Yeah, but I like the stress. I like the stress of having very short periods of time to have to learn things.
Yeah.
But then that makes me want to nail it that much more, just so I know that in my head, I've had this short time and I've done it and I've got it done. But that's just me and being a bit weird.
Yeah, but it's really good that as a fairly new Master Mason, you've embraced some of the additional roles, and I've seen you perform the ritual, which you're very, very good at. And at some point, you will be the master of the lodge in
That was terrifying me a lot. But yes, eventually.
terrified us.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
No, but and part of this conversation, which is why I invited you in, 'cause I knew how passionate you were. Not everybody has to have that passion, do they?
No, absolutely not.
I think we're trying to gently encourage people to say, look, you don't necessarily need the passion and that commitment every week, every month, but you will get more out of it the more you put in. And I say to people,
Absolutely.
the more you put in. But moving on to the reason that I was also keen to involve you in a podcast is you have quite a unique hobby.
Yes, unique is a good word, yes.
A very specialist hobby.
It's quite specialist, I suppose.
How did you get in becoming a strongman?
So I compete at a reasonable level in strongman competitions. I compete at the under 90 kilo class. So it gets to mean that I get to pig out for a little bit and then do quite a hardcore diet for 2 weeks, depending how much cake I've had. To
understand quite a bit of instruction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if there was cake,
yeah, yeah.
And then they go off and compete. So I've been competing in strength sports for about 10 years now. Where are we now? Yeah, 10 years. I started in the under 80 kilo class. I did my first competition and came third. And that sort of ignited a little spark in my head. And then we moved up past the under 90 kilo class to a much heavier class, which didn't suit me or my heart and stairs.
Right. Yeah.
And then we dropped a lot of weight. We spoke about lockdown. I actually managed to be one of the very few to lose weight during lockdown, and then started competing under 90 kilos.
Because you were saying that your dedication and your focus in being a strongman is replicated by your role, and perhaps that's why you are so focused on your masonry, because they align.
Yes, yeah, I think they do. And like we've said a few times, it's all about what you put into it. And the more effort you put in the gym or when you're lifting, the more gains, as it will, you'll get out during the competitions. I've done pretty lucky the last couple of years. I've managed to compete at England's Strongest Man. I've qualified for the last 2 years to UK Strongest Man, although it seems to be a cursed competition for me. Last year, I snapped my ankle on the third event carrying something. And then this year, I have gained another injury, which has meant that I haven't been able to compete at all. And it was the weekend just gone, which is very tempting.
And in fact, where they did collide is that your ankle had repaired just about before your third.
It had, yes. And there is without giving much away, there is a part of the ceremony where you sort of have to lean more to one side on your leg. And it was the leg that I had snapped. And the agony that I felt, it must have been a minute or two, but it felt like an hour being on that ankle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what sort of thing, when you say you've done strongman, I've seen some of your videos on your Facebook page. For people listening, what sort of thing do you do?
So it is your classic stuff that you see at Christmas with your big names and your Brian Shaws, Eddie Halls. Everyone will know who Eddie Hall is, or if you're old enough, Jeff Capes in this area. So it's apple stones, carrying heavy oaks on your back, carrying farmer's handles in your hands, deadlifting heavy weights picking them off the floor. I particularly like rocks, big weird rocks or sandbags. It's something I'm all right at. You said about the picture for this episode.
Yeah.
My family and I, my partner and I and our kids did the North Coast 500 last year, Bramley Adams, and Scotland is known for its manhood lifting stones, where in hundreds of years gone by, if you couldn't lift these stones, you couldn't be in the military or in the army or be a cook or whatever. So we did a little stone lifting tour while we were going around, and that particular stone in the picture is the Dalwhinnie lifting stone.
And how heavy is that?
That's only a light one.
How heavy is it?
102 kilos. So that's only a light one. The biggest one I did was 115 while we were out there.
150?
50, 1.5.
Well,
yeah, 5, yeah.
And people of the Jess coach of that, what size will they lift? What weight?
Well, they're more. There's a particular one there. The heaviest one in Scotland is 155-ish. And there's a couple guys now who've been able to pick it up and press it above their head. But for everybody, if you were into stone lifting or carrying stones or anything, the big goal for everybody is it's in Iceland, and it's the Husafell stone, which is 186-ish kilos. And you pick it up and carry it around your go pen and put it back down.
And how much? Obviously, technique is a huge part of this. There's obviously brute strength.
There's a lot of brute strength involved, a good bit of technique. With stonework, there's a lot of, similar to Freemasonry, there's a lot of being able to feel the stone and know where to lift it from. It's just about stone, pick it up. It's a good bit of feeling and finding where to get a good grip for the first bit, finding where to get your arms settled, get your breathing in place, and then going, yeah.
And what else do you do? What else do you do?
The yoke carry. So when you put a lot of weight on your back and run. So the best I've ever done is 360 kilos, which is quite a lot. That's probably why my back doesn't work very well at the moment.
That's sure.
And then deadlifts and things like that. Yeah.
I mean, when you see if you're listening, when you see the photograph of Rob, you'll see the neck. I've got a 16-inch collar. You're
22 inches. My collar is 22 inches. I have to have a fitting shirt. She's very irritating.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Yeah,
but obviously with that comes injuries and things like that. But
absolutely.
But it's almost going back to the masonry side. You can prepare, something can go wrong, but you just set yourself and go again. When something goes wrong in masonry, you might be ill, or the candidate might be ill, or whatever reason. Or I've said to somebody before, similar to like a game of golf, a gentleman was doing some work a lot of that, and he just had, no other word for it, a bad day in learning his ritual or remembering it. And I said to him, just don't worry about it. It's like a game of golf. You had a bad round this time. Next time, you'll have a good round. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing about masonry, and particularly for the younger members who are doing all this work, shouldn't be put off by, used to call it the tut-tut corner, which I don't think exists as much as it used to.
Oh, it definitely does. But only lightly, yes.
Yeah.
Lightly, yes.
But it is that, isn't it? Don't be put off, because everybody can only, like, in your way.
Whatever I have to learn, whatever piece of ritual I have to learn, for the first week, I really struggle. And even if it's something short, like the working tools, which is only little short bits you have to learn, I will struggle for a week. And I can't even get a sentence in, or I'll get a couple of sentences down, but not the first one. And then all of a sudden it will click, and I'll have it done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just about finding, for newer Masons who are looking to learn how to learn ritual, the best bit is about finding what's best for you. Whether it's repeating it into your phone, they're listening to to repeat in the car. It doesn't work for me.
That used to for me.
Yeah. Or I will just read it again and again and again and again. Or I'll read a sentence, save, read a sentence, save, read a sentence, save, and that's how it's parafashion.
And we're very fortunate, because the previous provincial grandmaster was, I don't think there was anything he didn't know, Mr. Yeldon. But the current PGM, Jolien Berry, is the ritual I've seen, has been absolutely spot on, as has the other three, the 2 assistants and the deputy. And it's inspiring when you see they're delivering the work.
Absolutely.
To our standard, you think, well, I've got something to aspire to.
Exactly that. And again, I suppose that comes back to being a kid and doing faces in the mirror like Jim Carrey. You find people that you want to emanate and be part of that.
Yeah, and I can remember being an initiate and fellow craft master mason, and looking at people in my mother lodge, which was Colford Lodge, and thinking, I'll never be able to do that. But nobody's I think all we want, if somebody tried their hardest, that's all you want, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you saying that the chap who took me around for my initiation, Mike Shields, all I remember is how calm he was for the entire time.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, when I have to do that, that's how I want to be.
Yeah.
And when I was lucky enough to be able to have that role for a short period for super sub.
Yeah. David Fairclough was the super sub, wasn't he, for Liverpool?
It was that.
Yeah.
And that's why I emanated to be that calm and that clear, so they knew what was exactly was going to happen.
Yeah. Rob, I can't believe that we've gone nearly to 30 minutes.
Have we?
Can I thank you for coming in and talking about the role or the road to a Master Mason, but also your hobby.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I can pick up pebbles on the beach. I can go to whatever you do, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and perhaps another day come back and we'll talk more.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Yes.
Lovely. So Rob, thank you very much for joining me. You have been listening to a Suffolk Province Free and Accepted podcast. Join me again for further episodes. These include the Undertaker, the Vicar and the Mason. Coming to you soon.